Well, at this hour, we're keeping an eye on the corridors of justice, and we want to take you there live so you can see live images of Mkurweni MP, that is John Kagushia, who has just arrived at the Milimani Law Courts following his arrest. He has been spending the night at the Kamkunji police station. There you have it on your screen. That is Kagushia. The lawmaker was arrested. We're going to hear from the prosecution side some of the preferred charges against the lawmaker, and as and when we get more links from that particular end, our very own Ruth Wamboi is following on that particular story. You can see some of the lawyer, that is Ndegwa Njiru, representing the Member of Parliament. We'll be getting more from that particular side. As and when we do that, we'll be bringing it to you live. They are currently before the Milimani Law Courts and now awaiting the trial magistrate. And you can see the trial magistrate has arrived. Let's listen in to the proceedings there.
But only have this to say, Your Honor, that the premises upon which these proceedings are mounted must be supported by the law. And therefore, at the particular time of commencing the proceedings, this court is not restrained from interrogating the conditions precedent. It has been highlighted before, Your Honor, the transgressions that befell our client before, during, and at the time of the arrest. The court is invited, Your Honor, to interrogate whether there was whether there was compliance with the Constitution, not violation with the Constitution, but compliance with the Constitution. I am laying emphasis on compliance and distinguishing it from violation because I know my learned friends will go to the Magistrate Act and pull the magical Section 8. But that's what I'm saying. I am inviting the court to look at the application of the Constitution. And that question, Your Honor, of the application of the Constitution has been dealt with by the Supreme Court in the case of Hussein Khalid versus the ODPP, Supreme Court petition number 21 of 2017 at paragraph 23 and 24. Supreme Court, Hussein Khalid versus the AG, Supreme Court petition number 21 of 2017. At paragraph 23 and 24 of the judgment, the Supreme Court, oh yes, sir. I beg your pardon. May I take it again? Hussein Khalid versus the Attorney General and others of the ODPP, Supreme Court, petition number 21 of 2017. Of our interest is paragraph 23 and 24. In those paragraphs, Your Honor, the Supreme Court distinguished between 23 and 24. The Supreme Court distinguished between the responsibility of a court of law to apply the Constitution and to interpret the Constitution. There was a distinction. And the Supreme Court indicated that the responsibility of the interpretation of the Constitution vests with the High Court, while a magistrate court such as this one can apply the Constitution. And of course, the Supreme Court, Your Honor, was coming from Section 20. Sorry, Article 20, Your Honor, Clause 3, where it provides that in applying the provisions of the Bill of Rights, a court shall. The Constitution does not define the jurisdiction of the court. It merely provides the court shall. And for the court, for these purposes, therefore, means even this particular court established under this Constitution. And you are told, Your Honor, when applying the Bill of Rights, and again the law, the article provides the word applying, not interpreting. In applying the Bill of Rights, a court of law shall develop the law to the extent that it does not give effect to the rights or fundamental freedoms. So when you're applying this provision, Your Honor, even upon the basis upon which this prosecution was mounted, you are law whether there was compliance. If therefore there was no compliance with the law and it is so dictated that there must be a compliance, the question therefore would be, if the garbage in, or is it garbage out? If we have put in garbage, can we get any good end results at the fullness of time? Your Honor, you might want to look at that charge sheet that has been brought before you. You are told that our client ought to take plea for offenses, offensive conduct conducive to the breach of peace. And the conduct is as a consequence of his utterance. And you're told, Your Honor, that there was an interpreter who has interpreted the language from Kikuyu.
Well, we do apologize for that technical glitch, but you have just joining us. That is the Milimani Law Court's proceeding where the MP of Mukurweini, that is Mheshimiwa Kagushia, has been brought before the Milimani Law Courts, of course, facing charges that have been leveled against him. And our very own Ruth Wamboi is following on that particular end and will inform us in our subsequent bulletins. To more developing stories now, President William Ruto has announced that the village elders across 106,000 villages will be recognized, and not only that, they will receive a stipend of a monthly stipend of 3,000 shillings. The initiative, the president said, is in recognition of their voluntary service in a local administration, peace building and conflict resolution at the grassroots level. At the same time, ODM leader Oburu Oginga has publicly endorsed President William Ruto for a second term ahead of the 2027 general election.
Village elder atalipwa marupurupu kila mwezi shilingi 3,000 kila mwezi, kila village elder. Jambo la 4, tumekubaliana ya kwamba kila village elder, na mimi nimewaitisha wale viongozi wengine wakuwe hapa ndio wawasikize kwa makini. Kiongozi wa wengi katika bunge yuko hapa, bwana Mheshimiwa Kimani Ichung'wah. Wao ndio wanapitisha pesa nikipeleka mapendekezo kule bunge. Chairman wa Security Committee bwana Gabriel Tongoyo yuko hapa. Chairperson wa committee ya Senate Mama Fatuma Dulo yuko hapa. Wote hawa pamoja na wabunge na kamati zao wamefika hapa, na pia waziri wa pesa yuko hapa bwana Mbadi. Tumekubaliana ya kwamba kila village elder ndio atekeleze wajibu wake kama kiongozi multipurpose pale chini. Tutamfanyia train.
Kura ikikuja wakati huu sisi ODM hatutakuwa na candidate. Candidate wetu ni President William Ruto. But all the other positions are negotiable. Particularly number 2. Don't you think I deserve to be number 2? Because that is what our concern. Can I not be number 2? Mimi nimetosha.
And in other news, the Public Service Commission has raised the red flag over what it says is the biggest existential threat facing the public service, mental health. The Commission says a growing number of civil servants are struggling with depression, substance abuse, financial stress and family conflicts. In the response, PAC says it is strengthening counselling services to support affected officers and improve service delivery. The concern comes amid increasing reports of workers taking their own lives, with economic hardship cited as one of the contributing factors.
People have different reasons why they are. Sometimes it's not even work-related. It could be domestic issues. But since you work with this individual at the workplace and you see someone as an indication or some parameter that can tell you this person needs mental health, the Commission take it very seriously. We have a whole department of guidance and counseling and a State Department for Public Service, which offer that service across all state departments.
A quick look at what is happening across the devolved units. More than 1,000 unemployed youth from Laikipia County are set to benefit from artisanal skills through the On-Job Experience Nyota program. The 6-month-long training will equip the young people with skills through apprenticeship. This and more stories is in our county's news roundup.
The youth will gain hand-on skills in craft like welding, beauty and therapy, ICT among others. The more than 1,000 youth welcome the commencement of the program, saying it will be a major self-empowerment boost.
Leo tuko hapa kuanzisha Nyota program training about is targeting our youth who I think we've been most of them have been idle. Watakuwa na kwa classes before they are deployed to different institutions.
Also in Kiambu County, the business community at Kamburu Open Air Market have called on the county government to urgently intervene and rescue them from the poor state of the market. Traders say that they continue to suffer huge losses, especially during the rainy season, due to lack of proper shades and security.
Mashida ni mengi, ukinyesha hapa kuna matope mingi, uchafu ni mwingi, unakuja na maji. Tunaomba serikali tusaidie kujenga soko haraka, sababu muda ni mfupi. Mlituambia kitambo, mmekuja mara 3 na hakuna yenye mmetufanyia.
In Machakos County, workers protested outside the assembly chambers demanding that MCAs pass the County Finance Bill 2026-2027, claiming the move has paralyzed operations in the key county institutions, leading to poor service delivery.
We are calling upon the Speaker of Machakos County Assembly and the committee that is responsible or that concerned with the Budget and Appropriation Committee to be able to sit down and to be able to see the cry of workers of Machakos County.
In Bungoma, the national government and the county government has allayed fears of possible Ebola infection during the ongoing national music festivals at the Kibabii University, owing to the county's proximity to Uganda, which is already battling the virus. The government says it has put in place robust measures, including screening, to avert any possibility of infection.
They started screening all the border points, and even all those who are participating are thoroughly screened. Their history of the health of their is taken, and whatever aspects are taken. And also, even in the venues and everything else, proper care is being done.
Finally, the Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Kericho, Alfred Rotich, has appealed to President William Ruto to urgently intervene and stop the destruction of the Londiani forest block.
What was created to be a source of life, clean air and water for humanity, animals and plants is being sacrificed at the altar of short-term human greed and reckless exploitation.
And in other news, the national government has launched an ambitious nationwide campaign to mobilize young people to enroll in technical and vocational education and training TVET institutions with a target of admitting 2 million youths by the end of December this year. The initiative targets to equip young Kenyans with practical and market-driven skills that will enhance their employability, promote entrepreneurship and improve self-reliance. Speaking while chairing a meeting of the National Government Administration Officers Ngao drawn from Meru, Samburu, Isiolo, Tharaka Nithi and Marsabit counties at the Meru National Polytechnic. The Principal Secretary for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, Dr. Esther Thara Moria, said the government's goal is to ensure that every young Kenyan has an opportunity to acquire technical skills regardless of their background. Dr. Moria underscored the government's commitment to creating opportunities for all the youth to access a quality technical education, enabling them to build sustainable livelihoods through employment or entrepreneurship.
If each and every one of our youth have a space, we have a space to be trained or to be skilled in our TVET institutions, then they have a space to leverage on to be able to build a livelihood. It is the skilled personnel that are going to babysit this country to industrialization.
We need to open this door, enroll our youths into the colleges, ensure that they get the benefits that are expected of them. We have seen what is happening with the Kazi Maju. I'm challenging the Ngao team now to sensitize the communities.
Elsewhere, schools are located near wildlife habitats in Nandi County are now benefiting from a government initiative aimed at reducing human-wildlife conflict through improved access to water. The State Department for Wildlife in the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife has distributed 20,000 litres water storage tanks to schools in Nandi Hills area to improve water availability and sanitation. The initiative is part of a broader efforts to improve livelihoods in communities bordering wildlife habitats, while promoting conservation and a peaceful coexistence between people and wildlife. Speaking during the handover of the tanks at the Kapiten Primary School, Conservation Secretary at the State Department for Wildlife in the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife, Dr. John Chumo, said the program will also enable schools to establish tree nurseries and increase vegetation cover.
When you bring water tanks or you provide water closer to them, then we reduce the human-wildlife conflicts that arise because of the children and the teachers and even the community who are actually going to collect water. So these water tanks are not only for the school, but also for the community around. Whenever they have activities, whenever they can access water, they can be able to get from this place.
And on the political front, Kibwezi West, a member of parliament, Mwengi Mutuse, has dismissed yesterday's renewed efforts by the opposition leaders to form a united coalition ahead of the 2027 general election. According to Mutuse, the alliance will not stop President William Ruto from securing a second term, as he will be judged based on his track record.
The formation of a grand coalition by the opposition ahead of the 2027 general election has continued to elicit debate within political circles. Kibwezi West legislator Mwengi Mutuse has termed yesterday's reorganization of the Azimio la Umoja Council in a move said to be the formation of a grand opposition outfit inconsequential, arguing that President Ruto's development record has earned him the confidence of Kenyans.
Wananchi wamesema Azimio ilizimia na haitawahi amka tena. Na kabla muamke asubuhi saa 12 William Ruto atakuwa ameshawaangusha na atakuwa amerudi kwa kiti kwa mara ya pili.
He at the same time called on the relevant agencies to take stern action against any individual involved in spreading hate speech and incitement.
There is no one who is above the law. Yeyote yule atapatikana kuhujumu sheria kwa njia ya kuchochea machafuko, ashikwe, aekwe ndani.
Elsewhere, a section of leaders from Kilgoris in Transmara West has vowed to rally behind President William Ruto in his bid for a second term.
Na hata sasa tunasema ya kwamba utapata leo zaidi kuliko wakati ingine yote. Sisi tunasema tutapika kwa UDA.
The leaders said the head of state has shown generosity by considering members of their community in leadership positions, citing the appointment of Basic Education Principal Secretary John Ololtua.
Kama watu wakazi wa Transmara tunakushukuru sana kwa sababu umepea PS Ololtua wizara ambaye ni ya muhimu katika serikali yetu ya Kenya.
In Kakamega, the rivalry between Governor Fernandes Barasa and Cooperatives Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya has continued to play out. Barasa has told off Oparanya over his rumored interest in the deputy president position, calling on him to focus on uniting his community first.
Mimi nataka kuambia bwana Oparanya, kama unatafuta kiti ya deputy president, kuja Kakamega, unganisha na Kakamega wote.
Meanwhile, Tabo Sub-County in Uasin Gishu Assistant County Commissioner Charles Cheseto leaders to engage the electorate on ideologies instead of engaging in divisive politics.
Tuwe na siasa ya agenda. Tuko na viongozi tuliwachagua. Wakati hiyo ikifika, tutakuwa na checklist. Ile wakati ulituagiza utafanya barabara hii. Kama hajafanya tunaweka nini? X.
Hatutaki kuchochea. Tuheshimu kila mmoja, wacha mtu auze sera zake. Na tusilete maneno ya ukabila.
Similar sentiments were echoed by Bungoma Senator David Wakoli, who cautioned politicians against making statements that appear to suppress the freedom of citizens to make independent choices.
Wote tunaishi kwa amani. Asilete uchochezi kwa watu wetu.
Nancy Okware, Lunchtime News.
Also, more than 300 residents in Nikafu, a village in Lungalunga constituency, Kwale County, have raised concerns over a land surveying exercise covering 270 acres, calling for the process to be halted pending further consultations. They want the exercise reviewed, saying the land should be surveyed based on the portions that they have occupied for years, rather than through a proposed subdivision into half-acre plots. The residents expressed concerns that the ongoing exercise could result in a land being allocated to individuals they claim are not among the original occupants. They also questioned the classification of the area as an urban settlement, maintaining that the land has traditionally been used for agriculture. They appealed to the national and county governments to intervene and ensure the process is transparent and fair.
Sitaki robo. Pale nilipopanda mwenyewe, mimi nimepanda hivi sasa, wakati kama huu siwezi kulima tena mimi.
Miwaje robo wakati wewe miaka yote umelima pale, miaka yote umeishi hapo, alafu mtu mwingine aje awekwe kwa shamba lako.
Naomba serikali ya Kenya na kaunti yetu ya government waliangalia hilo swala, ni nani anataka kuchukua hiyo robo apeleke wapi.
National government, the county government should look into this issue of resettling as squatters reasonably, not with a quarter an acre. Two, the committee that exists and the team that is doing survey, we want the team to be changed once and for all.
Tensions remains high at the Upendo Center in Ramula Siaya County after day-long running battles between security agencies and the residents. Trouble started after a gold prospecting company in the area, Shanta Gold Limited, arrived in the village for a socio-economic audit on the residents. The residents claim heavily armed security officers blocked them from witnessing the exercise, and afterwards things spiraled out of hand. Achola Simon with the details.
At about 6 p.m. Monday evening, tens of residents were still lining up along the Luanda-Ramula Road, with tension palpable in the air. The distraction left behind after running battles between the police and the locals, evident at every market stop. Residents also displaying used bullet cartridges they claimed were collected after the police shot at them. Trouble is said to have started shortly after the Shanta Gold Kenya Limited, the company licensed to mine gold in the area, arrived at a village near Upendo Center to carry out a socio-economic audit on one of the residents who wants to vacate his land to allow for mining to commence.
Moja ni kutumia polisi kama intimidation. Hakuna mtu yeyote mwenye anaweza enda kwa public participation penye polisi imeshinda raia na numbers. Yeah. Hakuna. Hiyo hata kwa sababu community imebeba walemavu, imebeba wazee kabisa wenye wako na 90 years na imebeba watoto. Uwezi enda mahali umebeba polisi kadri ya magari 10 na useme hiyo ni public participation, na wanatumia pesa mingi kwa security kuliko sisi kuongea. So kitu yenye iko ni ya kwamba sisi ni binadamu. Kama umekuja na ishara ya polisi, unatuonyesha nini? Inaonyesha vita.
Neighbors then gathered in their numbers to witness the exercise, and sensing danger, the police blocked the surging crowd, much to its annoyance.
Kuja hapa usibui mpaka saa hizi sijafanya kazi. Na mimi ni mama mzee, niko na wajukuu na wajukuu wanaenda kulala njaa. Mimi wamenipigia tiaga kwa mlango na niko na mtoto wanakuwa na shamba.
Shanta Gold Kenya Limited mining footprint in the area will cover about 432 acres of land. An estimated 9,000 to 10,000 locals are expected to voluntarily move to pay way for the project. Those moving are expected to be compensated for the loss of land and any other investment they are in at the current market price. The company has already built over 83 bedroom houses to facilitate smooth relocation. Achala Simon, Lunchtime News, Siaya County.
And that story by Achola Simon takes us to a first commercial break on KBC's Lunchtime News. Don't go too far. We still have more general news for you. And also on the business desk, we'll be talking about the Africa capital markets. We do have a guest here with us. Don't go too far.
Do you save for retirement?
Kwani mimi ni mzee? I'm still young and I've got plenty of time to start saving later. Then again, si watu wa jua kali, hatunanga hizo ma pension plans.
Kwani ujui unaweza register with an individual pension plan yenye iko regulated na RBA?
Inawakaje?
Una deposit any amount of money at any time na uko guaranteed ukikuwa mzee. Maisha yako itakuwa nywe.
Baadaye vile nakushua ni ukweli. Hadi mimi nili boost savings zangu kwa scheme yetu ya job.
Really?
Nilijua siwezi kuwa kijana forever. Sis, usikose kujipanga mapema. Tutakuwa wazee wa maana.
Ebu nionyesheni kuwa mzee wa maana.
Ensure you save and plan for your retirement during your youthful working days. Provided you are earning an income, you can join a retirement benefit scheme registered by Retirement Benefits Authority and safeguard your tomorrow. RBA, safeguarding your retirement benefits.
Corner for Cabaret. Can they get a goal back and provide us with a little bit of excitement at the very end? There's the header, there's the goal. She didn't even know it had gone in. And that is fantastic. Scored by Olivia Kelly. Off the corner. A little touch and it flew past Fatoumata Karantao. And Cabo Verde get 2 goals in this game. There you go, she's facing her way, a little bit of a flick. She had to turn around to see that it actually was in the back of the net. Look at the speed in which it just whizzed past Karantao. And there's your second goal. We don't have to go to VAR for that. A magical moment there for the FC Slovako player based in Slovakia.
Pata makao na boma yangu.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. To more news now, a section of leaders have called on the national and county governments to invest more in sports as a means of creating self-empowerment opportunities for the youth. Matayos, a member of parliament, Geoffrey Odaga, says harnessing youth talent development through sports will also promote discipline and social cohesion. Odaga challenged the Busia County government to allocate adequate resources towards sports development, including organizing regular talent scouting programs to identify and nurture gifted players across the border county. The legislator announced plans to establish a sports center in Mundika to provide a permanent facility for training and nurturing local talent.
Nimeona kwamba talent tuko nayo kubwa sana hapa, na tunataka kunoa hii talent. Hapa Busia tumekuwa na wachezaji wazuri sana katika taifa hili. Tunataka tunoe hivyo vipaji ili tusikue na mambo ya vijana kukaa nyumbani ya kusema ati kuna maguns. Nataka tubadilishe na kujenga hawa vijana wetu wawe watu ambao wanaweza kufanya shughuli ambazo zitawasaidia.
Meanwhile, a row is simmering between residents of Kiambu and Murang'a counties over a proposal to relocate the Soya Bridge, which connects Thika and Gatanga constituencies across River Thika. Residents of Ngoliba in Kiambu County have opposed the plan, accusing a local politician of attempting to have the steel bridge moved instead of repairing its sagging section. The residents say the bridge constructed in 2022 at 25 million shillings after the previous one was swept away by floods remains a vital link to farmers, traders and school-going children. Residents are calling for the bridge to be repaired rather than relocated, noted that several children had previously drowned while attempting to cross the river before the bridge was built.
Kuna maguns wamesimama huko na wako na matingatinga. Mimi mara moja nikachukua gari nikakuja haraka, na wakati nimefika hapa kwa kweli nimekuta darasha inaibiwa. Hata pande hiyo ukiangalia sasa hii darasha imeinama, hata hatujui sasa usalama wake.
Watu wengi wenye wanalima pande hii wanatumia watu wa kibarua kutoka pande ile wenye wanafanya hapa Idhanga, wanatoa wafanyikazi pande ya Kiambu. Wafanyikazi watakuwa kipita wapi? Huwezi kuja ufanyia 300 hapa na umezunguka all the way from Gataigoro kukuja hapa na bodaboda kulipisha 400. Wengi wa pande hii wa shule wanakuja pale Goriba Secondary ile iko pale juu. Watakuwa wakisomea wapi? Ng'ombe za pande hii zinakuja kukula pande ya kwetu. Za huku kwetu zinakuja kukula pande hii. Tutakuwa tukifanya biashara yetu kivipi?
Kama maendeleo yetu ya pande ya Murang'a na pande ya Kiambu. Watoto wa pande hii wanasomea pande ile na watoto wengine wa pande ile wanasomea pande hii. Haya daraja hii ndio tunatumianga wakati ile mtu amekojeka, mama ameumwa na uchungu wa kusaa, tunatumia hii daraja. Hii daraja hata sio jana peke yake, kuko na wakati mwingine ilikuwa itolewe usiku. Na hatukubali hii daraja itolewe. Kile tunahitaji ni usaidizi inuliwe, iwe kama inaweza saidia kisasi kilio nyuma yetu.
More than 100 professionals from across Africa have been equipped with leadership skills aimed at improving business performance, strengthening institutions and driving sustainable economic growth through a leadership development program conducted in Mombasa County. The latest cohort of 13 executive entrepreneurs and professionals graduated after completing a 12-week leadership program organized by a company focused on strategic decision-making, communication, conflict resolution and organizational management. The graduates were challenged to commit to greater responsibility of service to humankind.
We believe that leadership is not about titles or positions. Leadership is about influence. It's about responsibility and service.
The idea is we connect with the private sector. And the private sector is the one that gives us the opportunities. They trust us with the opportunities, and then we now source candidates.
And welcome now to the world of business. Before we get to our interview portion, Homa Bay County plans to spend close to 3 billion shillings to boost soya beans production. Homa Bay County Agriculture Director, that is Kennedy Opio, says over 240,000 farmers have been registered in an initiative to recruit more people into soya beans farming. Consumption of soya beans is on the rise in Kenya, with the country producing 2,000 metric tons of soya beans annually against a national demand of more than 200,000 metric tons. Homa Bay is the leading producer of soya beans in Kenya, according to the 2025 Kenya National Bureau of Statistics report. The county has identified soya beans as a priority crop due to its high market value and a short maturity period. Opio says Homa Bay has a favorable weather which, if fully harnessed, can significantly increase production while improving household incomes.
One of the other reasons why we also encourage our farmers to do soybean farming is the aspect of ready market. It's common knowledge that whatever the country produces, it's more or less like 5% of what the country requires.
The production of soya in fish in aquaculture program is meant to intervene on feed production. That is because the main component for fish feed is soya.
Imenitoa mbali cause kitambo nilikuwa chini kabisa, but tangu nianze hii kufanya hii kupanda soya, sasa naona niko pahali cause naweza fundisha mtoto bila kuitisha rambe.
Taking the produce from the farmers. Wakati wameleta soya kwa store, tunapima, tunawalipa, but tunaangalia the quality of the produce.
And on our interview portion this afternoon, we are focusing on Africa capital markets and, of course, in terms of mobilizing finances for capital projects within the continent, with the continent looking at Vision 2063. And recently, given that our president has spoken about Vision 2060, and recently you have witnessed what happened in Tanzania as well, with President Samia Suluhu talking about a Vision 2050. How can that be inculcated into some of the vision not only the continent is looking at, but the country in terms of African projects attracting global finances to improve the livelihoods and economically grow the country and the region at large? Joining us this afternoon is none other than Dr. Emmanuel Zai, the chairman of the Organizing Committee of Africa Capital Week 2026. Daktari, welcome.
Asante sana.
And maybe Daktari, tuweze kwanza, we start off by talking to us about what Africa Capital Week 2026 means, not only for Kenya, but the continent at large.
Thank you so much. So Africa Capital Week will be held on September 7th to the 11th in Nairobi. The idea of the Capital Week actually has been on the build-up for the whole of last year. The Vision 2030 took the implementing agencies to the UN General Assembly last year. And the conversation there was about the new global financial architecture, and especially the like of Kenya, who we have now moved to a lower middle income country, how we become self-sufficient in terms of what we're now calling the economic sovereignty. Vision 2030, of course, has all the Vision 2030 projects. We have our MTP now, medium-term plan, which we need to raise money, either from the taxes or also then from the private sector. The public-private partnerships by themselves are not enough. What we are seeing a trend right now, and I think we'll be building this, the regulatory framework with the Capital Market Authority, is the deepening of capital markets where we can raise funds to fund some of our projects through the capital markets. And this is the trend. So we got that conversation from the interactions we had with Wall Street, much of the global financial leaders in this space. And we said what we need to do then for Kenya, for the Kenya Vision 2030, is to convene all the capital markets stakeholders in Africa, not only in Kenya, but across Africa. Kenya is one of the top of our Nairobi Securities Exchange. The Capital Markets Authority has been a very good regulator to advance new instruments and new products into the market. To the extent now we have seen the results. The Kenya Pipeline went to list after 18 years. Family Bank went to list. There has been other stronger companies, especially government-owned enterprises, the like of Kengen, has been in the market for a while. So through that, we at a place where we can scale. And in that instance, then, we help solve one of our biggest challenges we had with the Vision 2030, which is funding these major infrastructure projects. high growth sectors that we have, from agriculture, from health security space, across the board. So that's really the essence of Africa Capital Week, that we get to have this conversation, but more have a deepening of capital markets and economic sovereignty conversation.
And earlier on, Dr. we were speaking and you told me about how some of the challenges we're facing. But in terms of 2030 and now talking about Vision 2060, how do you ensure that financial development, that is the key conversation countries are having, including one of us, how can we attract global funding to fund such key projects to move the country forward?
Fantastic. Actually, the biggest form of funding is credibility. And in our story for Kenya now, we're talking about the Vision 2030. This is one of the number one things that the Vision 2030 has done as a long-term national policy for economic transformation. Launched in 2008 with its flagship projects, which have government participation and clarity on also private participation in terms of them participating in the PPP framework, which we have done that quite a bit. So you talk about the LAPSET project. The LAPSET is not just government. There's a special economic zone in it which needs to attract. And the good news about it, to show evidence, the Dangote oil refinery would not have been coming to Lamu to set shop if we did not have the LAPSET launch in 2008 as a flagship project and the enabling infrastructure and environment on it. So what has happened with the Kenya Vision 2030 then, it's been an instrument or a platform of credibility, because now you can be predictable as a country what the government thinks, where they are going, and it has evidence, very tangible. Look at Konza Technopolis, one of the best flagship projects that Kenya Vision 2030 has had, the Silicon Savannah, which was built out of the ingenuity of the Kenyan people in the creation of M-Pesa and that whole technology front end that we've had. So we've been able now through that to leverage it, and now I think we are for sure the leading country in Africa and competitive in the world as far as technology and human capital is concerned. So through that has been the platform for us to kind of give credibility to the world, to the investors, private sector, that there is some predictability. The policy is aligned. There is an enabling environment in terms of policy framework, and also government where it invests for it to do the de-risking into the private sector, both domestic and international, to come invest in Kenya.
And one of the major challenges you can tell us about the continent, which even global partners across the world have been speaking about, money laundering has been a bigger issue in this continent, not only in this continent but other continents, but it has been rife in this particular continent, even grey listing of some nations. So how do you deal with that when you mobilize resources for such projects? So
I think one, and this is I think the best thing that probably we have in our institutions. If you look at it very carefully, we have been very, very progressive, and the cabinet sector in body has probably for the first time more than any time been out there really talking about the Kenya's economic architecture and the financial architecture. Fiscal and monetary policies run by both the central government and the Treasury. The Capital Markets Authority itself, I think it really deserves a lot of credibility in this. They have been running the deepening of capital markets, securitization, very consistently. And through that, if you look at it carefully, all the way to what we have now of the Sovereign Wealth Fund, the Infrastructure Fund, the listing of the Kenya Pipeline, listing of Family Bank, that is a movement which basically has been set up for the capital market to be trustworthy. Okay, a significant one, which I think quickly passes, is now we have a State Department for public finance and assets created in Treasury. That solidifies it because the whole of now the Privatization Act, which is in place, we have the PPP Directorate, we have the Privatization Authority. So the policy and institutional framework, I think, has now moved to a place where we can manage better than many other countries competitively. And I think we have been doing this very deliberate, very intentional, both in policy, regulatory, and also the government goodwill at any given time.
Maybe in your final remarks, given that we've run out of time, Daktari, talk to us about how we can bridge the gap between investors and bankable projects within our country and the continent in just 30 seconds.
How we bridge is simply probably what we are doing. We have institutions like the Kenya Development Corporation, which is created to de-risk, created for it to also help in project preparation. There's the Nairobi Securities Exchange, which has an Ibuka program, which is help in terms of acceleration. And they also have a Center of Excellence, which is created for platforms like that. So through that, it's all about the packaging of the project preparation for it to be bankable, a good balance sheet where it can stand the test of time by any investor that they will put in their money and they will get profits.
Thank you so much, Daktari. That is Dr. Emmanuel Zai, the chairman of the Organizing Committee of the Africa Capital Week 2026. He has just informed us that that particular conference will be taking place between the 7th to 11th of September 2026. We'll be keeping an eye on those developments and how they'll be interlinked with some of the conversations that are currently happening in the country in terms of Beyond Vision 2030 and how complementary it will be, not only in this country, but the continent at large. But to more stories now, crude oil prices have dropped by more than 4% as growing hopes of the U.S.-Iran deal gather pace. U.S. President Donald Trump says talks with Iran are underway, calling it a last chance for an agreement. However, Iran has not confirmed talks with the U.S., saying it is in talks with Oman on reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines across the globe.
Completely open within a day, with talks on Iran's nuclear program to follow as a second phase. However, Iran's foreign ministry pushed back on Trump's account, with the spokesman Esmail Boghai saying Tehran was not currently engaging in any negotiation with the U.S. and that only talks with Oman over the Strait of Hormuz were underway. Both global oil benchmarks jumped more than 20% in July after fighting between the U.S. and Iran resumed, and as attacks on several tankers in the Strait of Hormuz revived fears for the safety of vessels transiting the important shipping passage. Meanwhile, persistent drought in the northern Italy Po River basin is forcing manufacturers to rely more heavily on water recycling as river flows drop far below average and a dozen of Lombardy towns face shortages. The Po Plain is one of Europe's most concentrated manufacturing region and Italy's key agricultural heartland, with the drought hitting Ades in Sassuolo, the center of Italy's ceramics industry, where production depends on water for grinding raw materials and cleaning equipment. Industry data shows ceramics manufacturers now recycle around 99% of processed water, though that still covers only about half of the total demand, with the rest drawn from groundwater and public supply. Finally, China has laid out a major expansion of its power infrastructure. The National Energy Administration released its 15th five-year plan for the new power system construction on Monday, charting the country's power sector development through 2030. The plan targets new energy storage capacity of 300 million kilowatts, alongside pumped hydro storage capacity of roughly 160 million kilowatts. It also calls for scaling up vehicle-to-grid charging capacity to 15 million kilowatts and upgrading next-generation coal-fired plants. The plan sets a national power supply adequacy target of 1.1 or higher by 2030 and calls for more than 6 interregional power mutual aid projects, adding about 40 million kilowatts of cross-regional capacity.
Now, here are some of the stories making headlines in the world of sports. We start with athletics, where Kenyan athletes embarked on their training yesterday in the USA in preparations for the 21st World Athletics Under-20 Championships set to kick off tomorrow until Sunday at the Hayward Field in Oregon. Kenya is set to begin its medal hunt in a day one in both 5,000 meters men and women finals. With a contingent of 23 athletes, 12 boys and 11 girls, Kenya under coach Robert will aim to improve on its 2024 performance, where it claimed 7 medals, among them 3 gold and 3 silvers. Organizers were busy putting on the final touches on Monday in preparations for the championship, which is returning to Oregon for the first time since 2014. The stadium is also staging a major athletics championship after playing host to the 2022 global event. Now to the continental showpiece. A national women's soccer team, Harambee Starlets, finished their Group A campaign in the Women Africa Cup of Nations WAFCON without registering a victory. This is after Algeria claimed a 2-0 win over Kenyan side last night to secure a place in the quarterfinals. The North Africans produced an assured first-half display, striking twice inside the opening 30 minutes. Meanwhile, host Morocco finished top of Group A after being held to a goalless draw by Senegal in a tough match in Rabat. Tonight, Tanzania will play their last Group B match against Ivory Coast, and you watch that particular match that will be aired live on KBC Channel 1.
With just 40 minutes on the clock, look at the smile. Her second goal of the tournament, and what a hit as well. Chaka getting herself into trouble, as does the goalkeeper as well, and Algeria have their second. And Lilian Arawari, the Kenyan goal, will not want to see that.
Of course, and by beating Morocco, they can secure that, winning by a single goal, while Algeria fails to beat Kenya or drawing with Morocco.
She has the second one saved as well. Oh, come on! Extraordinary scenes. And die.
Elsewhere, Antoine Jason was among Kenya's brightest young chess talents who were crowned champions during the Kenya National Under-17 Chess Championship held at the Alliance Girls High School. The tournament attracted hundreds of players from across the country, with the winners emerging from the various age categories after 11 rounds of competition.
Antoine Jason was crowned the Under-7 Open champion after a flawless performance, scoring a maximum 11 points to finish ahead of Yuvan Shankar and Kiran Shege.
So for the turnout, we have approximately 4,700 participants coming across over 200 schools and clubs. Yes.
Today we are witnessing the final rounds of the Kenya Under-17 National Chess Championship, the first edition of its kind. Previously, it was known as the Kenya National Schools Chess Championship.
In the girls category, Michelle Wambui claimed the Under-7 title with 11 points, while Emma Emela Wamwenya finished second and Tina Njeri Njoroge placed third. Ethan Kiptu won the Under-9 Open crown with 10.5 points. Ejin Mukwana Jean Baraza on tiebreak, while Jane Award secured the Under-9 girls title after amassing 10.5 points.
Basically, my sister introduced me to chess because I saw her with all the shiny trophies, and that's whatever made me start playing chess.
The girls Under-15 title went to woman candidate Master Nashipai Belaokelo, who finished on 10 points ahead of Shukri Shakira and woman FIDE Master Elizabeth Kasidi Maina.
The national champions in each category, under-7 to under-17, will get the opportunity to carry the Kenyan flag in international events which feature odd age categories.
Team Kenya delivered an outstanding performance at the World Tennis Confederation of Africa Tennis 12 and under East African Zonal Championship in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, with the boys successfully defending their team title and the girls earning a bronze medal. In the boys category, Kenya defeated host Tanzania in the final to retain the title. Fidel Castro opened the tie with a strong 7-6, 6-1 victory before Muyanzi Kahi sealed the championship with an identical 7-5, 6-1 win. Joshua Ngini paired up with Fidel Castro in doubles to make it a 3-0 over the Tanzanians with a 6-3, 6-1 win. The Kenyan girls team secured a bronze with an impressive victory over Uganda. Finally, Musokoto Secondary School are among the teams that have booked their place in the Safaricom Chapa Dimba Western Region Finals after emerging champions in the Busia County Finals. The latest county championship also saw winners crowned in Vihiga and Bungoma as the race to the regional title gathers momentum. Musokoto Secondary School clinched the Busia County Boys title to secure qualification for the Western Regional Finals, while Chakol Queens were crowned champions in the girls category to complete Busia's representation. Now also in Vihiga County, Vihiga Cranes emerged victorious in the boys competition with Blue Commanders lifting the girls' title to earn their place in the next stage of the tournament.
Anapiga juu kwa juu mtafutanana mwenzake kule mbele. Anapiga kule atatamoa. Tunasema mwenye win. Solomon unaweza join picha tafadhali. Talented anacheza paka football. Amecheza smart sana. Thank you. God bless you.
Kujipanga kwetu tulianza kujipanga tangu tuanze hii term ianze. Tulianza hii preparation kwa ball games zetu. Tuliingiza baada ya kucheza ball games, kutoka kwa ball games tukatolewa kwa sub county, tukaamua focus yetu irudi kwa Chapa Dimba.
Mashindano yetu tulitayarisha vizuri. Tuliwania kuja kucheza hii county kwa bidii, train na tunazidi kupush kutrain hard to any regional and national.
Coming up the grassroots, the tapping talent is very, very key, very, very important. The kind of support they are going to afford to the students is very, very important.
Now remember, given that we are a true sports partner, tonight our neighbours Tanzania will play their last Group B match against Ivory Coast, and expect that particular match live on KBC Channel 1. That concludes our bulletin. Do join us in our subsequent bulletins at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim. The sign language interpreter at the bottom end of the screen is Caroline Njoroge. Good afternoon for now.
Sometimes you've got to take a look at the stats. That's a great bit of work here. The 1-2 and a attempt for a shot. It's a brilliant goal for Mali. The 1-2 produces the goods. Sumptuous, and Umu Kone is the goal scorer. The salute, the celebration, and the Eagles are soaring now. Top quality football here. First of all, it was 1 in the midfield. There's the work out there. Look at the movement off the ball, and the 1-2 was just sensational. And the pass from Aissata Traore was a delight to the eye, a fabulous finish, and a 1-0 lead for Mali. That is the way to do it.
Pata makao na boma yangu.